Story 1. She died. I am her widower. It has been over 20 years now, so it is okay. However, I still miss her. Story 2. I turned 38 a couple of weeks ago. My high school crush is currently in my kitchen making decorations on her cutting machine for our 4-year-old daughter's birthday this weekend. Story 3. Not my crush, but the most handsome guy at my high school went to prison for shooting someone, so that's something. Story 4. She is still with the man she started dating in high school. I believe they are married now. It has been 20 years. Story 5. The crush and I are still friends. He earned a master's degree in a field he disliked, so he went back to medical school and loves it. Occasionally, I call his office, or he asks one of the receptionists to reach out to me. If we both have time, I visit the hospital where he practices, and we have lunch in the cafeteria talking about lighthearted topics. He's a great guy. I really valued our friendship during college, and I'm glad we remain friends. The high school boyfriend, on the other hand, is someone I mostly think of as someone I used to know. Story 6. I would ask her, but she is sleeping. She keeps different hours than I do. However, we have been married for 44 years, so we understand each other. We are doing okay. Story 7. One of the most beautiful women from my high school turned out to be quite unpleasant. When Facebook was at its peak, we reconnected there and agreed to meet with our partners for dinner because we were planning to be in town. This was about 25 years after high school. We met, and she was still stunningly beautiful, but she treated her partner poorly. He was a genuinely nice guy, but she was very unkind. It truly put things in perspective for me. Story 8. Neither of us is well. One of us will eventually die. I feel that is when we will know who won the breakup. Story 9. He is my boyfriend now. We have been together for over 2 years and will be moving in together in 2 days. I am very excited. Story 10. A successful career in finance at a Fortune 500 company involves frequent travel and the experience of new countries. Story 11. She just got engaged but has 3 children already from some men. I definitely dodged a bullet, but she is still attractive. Story 12. She has 10 children, and when asked if she heard about a classmate passing away, her first response was, well, he was one of the troublemakers after all. Story 13. Came home a month ago and said she was leaving me. She needs to find herself, apparently. We have been together since we were 16. I'm now left with our home and 3 pets, with no idea what she's up to. Story 14. Single parent with 2 children from different fathers. She attempted to initiate a sexual relationship with me when I was 13, but I declined. Story 15. I don't know what my crushes are currently up to, but I know the last one I had ran into a couple of years ago and is now a dad. That was the last time I saw him, and I hope he's doing well. Story 16. He's fairly successful, but he enjoys Disney, which isn't unusual in itself. However, it's strange for him since he was a bit punk and emo in high school. Story 17. She found a great job at a well-known Silicon Valley company. At a conference, she met a hedge fund manager. They now have 3 children and vacation homes in Martha's Vineyard and Aspen. She is doing well. Story 18. She is excelling as a lawyer in one of the largest law firms in the country. I am very happy for her. I always knew she would be successful in whatever she pursued. Story 19. Doing well in life. I have traveled to multiple parts of Europe, including France and other countries. I also attended major sporting events in Europe as a spectator and tourist. I felt terrible and experienced significant fear of missing out after witnessing that. She is doing well because she excelled academically and was given the opportunity to study in Britain. Additionally, she is an extremely extroverted person, which is why she has been traveling so much. Story 20. I met him in 9th grade while he was in 10th. We were friends for a year, and now we have been dating for over a year. He is the sweetest, most accepting, and silliest man ever. As someone who is female to male, I feel so lucky to have him. He doesn't care about my surgeries or what name or pronouns I choose. He loves me as long as I take care of myself. Also, I playfully slapped his rear on the first day of knowing him. Don't worry, I asked first, he just didn't think I would actually do it. Now we joke about that being the moment he fell in love. Story 21. Extremely religious and consistently sharing posts supporting RFK Jr.'s unhinged version of health science. I'm glad I didn't get the chance to act out in anger. Story 22. I became a psychologist and got married with a few children. I had a turbulent high school relationship that lacked closure. Her parents forbade her from speaking to me when they learned about us. She occasionally crosses my mind. Story 23. With her dogs in her paid-for home, I am finishing a bowl of Velveeta, getting ready to order delivery right out of my apartment. Story 24. I learned a couple of years ago that she died unexpectedly. I hadn't seen her since high school, but she got married and had children. Apparently, she slipped in the middle of the night and hit her head. She thought she was okay and went back to sleep. She didn't wake up. Story 25. I am married with 2 children. We met in 2012 after 22 years and fell in love again. We started a romantic relationship and later became sexually involved. Recently, I realized that I made a mistake, and now we are no longer sexually engaged, but we still care about each other. My wife is the sweetest person, and I feel sad that I betrayed her. Sometimes I feel that I should confess. Story 26. Which one? I have no idea. I don't use any social media outside of Reddit, where I enjoy being anonymous. Story 27. I'm not sure. I want to add him on social media, but I'm too scared. I've been in love with him from afar since 7th grade. Story 28. Divorced a beautiful gold-digging influencer. He only dated attractive girls. He was very toxic. He reminds me of Chip from the television show Friends. He started dating another girl who had a crush on him in school. It feels like he is still mentally in school, playing those little games. Story 29. I had a crush on the only openly gay girl in my grade, but then I found out she had an inappropriate relationship with her French literature teacher and bragged about it to her friends. Story 30. He has been in and out of prison, is divorced, has 2 children he doesn't see, struggles with a meth addiction, and is involved with multiple women. Story 31. I lost complete contact with one of them. She moved away a long time ago, and I hope she is well. The other person appears to be struggling with addiction and has suffered injuries. Story 32. I think one person has 2 kids and tried to scam me on Facebook. They had a Canadian and a US number. Another person sells medical devices and accessories. I don't know how good that is. Story 33. Heard through the grapevine that one of my oldest friends is still in contact with one of his ex-partners. He uses meth secretly after leaving his first family for someone with a few children who are not his. He constantly cheats on her with barely legal teenagers. We are all in our 30s. Stop being that weirdo. Story 34. Extremely successful but has man breasts. He is slim but still has man breasts. The other one is an alcoholic going through a divorce. Every day I count my blessings. Story 35. Trying to match with me on Tinder. I see my likes. I haven't seen him in a few years. He friend-zoned me once. Story 36. Awaiting trial for sexually assaulting his stepdaughter, the daughter of his 3rd wife. He was my first, and I was not much older than his stepdaughter is now. Story 37. Not a crush per se, but my high school girlfriend. She ended up with 3 children, and the father of her children left her with them and got another girl pregnant. Needless to say, I am in a much better financial position than she is. Story 38. One person apologized to me years later when I ran into him at the pizza parlor where he was working. He said he was ashamed of how he treated people before rehabilitation, which I had no idea about, but it explained a lot. The other person brought me home soup today and is in the living room modifying his video game to have a prettier sunset. Story 39. She is sleeping. I was one of the lucky few who turned my high school crush into my friend, then into my girlfriend, best friend, and finally my ex, when I made her my wife. Story 40. Last I checked, she gained a lot of weight and doesn't look like herself. She was married but is now divorced, I believe. I don't really keep track. Story 41. Let's see, she is married and expecting her 2nd child. celebrating the birth of her first child, and recently broke up with a pitcher from a Major League Baseball team. I have liked her profile on Hinge twice. Wish me luck. Story 42. Which one? Actually, it doesn't even matter because I have lost contact with all of them and really don't care enough to go searching on Facebook to find out. Story 43. I honestly don't remember having a high school crush. Most of the guys I knew in college are married now. One guy who was not very nice is still single. Story 44. I didn't have one. However, since my classmates loved pairing me with others, they made up crushes for me. The guy who was my best friend is doing fine. Life hit him hard because of demanding bosses and jobs that aren't paying enough due to inflation, but overall, he is doing well. The random girl I dated is now married with kids and has proven to the world that she is quite difficult to deal with. Female friend 1 keeps getting involved in scams. Female friend 2 is focused on her work, while her partner thinks there might be something going on between us, despite the fact that I only see her as a friend. My best friend's boyfriend, who is now an ex, has fallen off the radar. He is either in jail or a mental health facility. He was quite peculiar. As for the others, I have no idea about them since they were really just random people my classmates claimed I had a crush on. Story 45. She is overweight with 6 children, possibly by 3 different men. She tried a few times to contact me on Facebook for a relationship, but I am not interested. Back in 12th grade, she definitely had a great body, was beautiful, and had a rebellious attitude to match. Story 46. I am doing just fine, thank you. Okay, not so fine. I have a lot of problems. Don't fall in love with yourself, especially in high school. It's impossible to break up, and it won't work out well. Story 47. He acted in well-known movies like Percy Jackson and Camp Rock 2. The last time I saw him, he was playing a father in a McCain's French fry commercial. Story 48. We became good friends, and she named her second child after me. Although we both have families and have gone our separate ways, we never forget to reach out. Story 49. She had a child during her freshman year of college and sends me Merry Christmas and Happy Easter texts. I am waiting for her to come back home to our small town in Nebraska. Story 50. I heard 6 feet down, but I also heard the same about others and then ran into them at the mall or wherever. Story 51. I was not sure who my high school crush was. I had feelings for many people, to be honest. I just didn't know which one to choose, so I ended up mingling with different classmates, and then she decided I wasn't worth it. She was Lebanese. I did have a girlfriend before I entered high school. Story 52. I have no idea. We didn't attend the same school, but we had extra tutoring classes together. I had no contact information for him and never saw him again. That was 22 years ago. He wanted to be a doctor. I hope he achieved that goal. Story 53. It's been almost 2 decades since we graduated from high school. She is still strikingly attractive, easily at a supermodel level, the epitome of the genetic lottery. She remains as friendly and sweet as ever. We spoke for a few moments a few years ago. The most puzzling thing is that she is still single now. It was not my place to ask, so I didn't. She must be seeking her perfect match or something. Story 54. I don't know what happens after you die. She got really sick after high school and passed away. Story 55. The 30th anniversary of my high school was held a few years ago. I live on the other side of the world and don't use Facebook much, so I was listed on the memorial board, which was amusing. The only person I kept in touch with sent me a bunch of photos. All those girls I admired are now overweight and balding. Story 56. One is happily married. The other is happily married and announced her pregnancy a month ago. I don't even feel anything anymore. Story 57. I had 2 crushes in high school. One is openly gay and active in the LGBTQ community. The other wrote to me a couple of months ago, bought me a coffee, and tried to convince me to have an affair, even though I am in a relationship. He told me about his ex, with whom he has 2 children, and said she is crazy, which is what everyone says. I realized I had been following their lives without intending to, since we live in a very small city and have many people in common. Story 58. She is pursuing a PhD and has been living with her boyfriend for a couple of years now. I know that she cheated on him. She shared details about her life with me when we were intimate 3 months ago. My teenage self would be so proud. Story 59, married him. Could be better, and I know it could be worse. He's not as controlling, possessive, and manipulative as someone who constantly monitors and manipulates. Story 60. She owns a day spa and is married to a very successful electrician. Life seems to be treating them well. Our daughters are on the same cheerleading team, so I will be spending the weekend with her in Las Vegas for a competition. Story 61. He is a Broadway actor now, still as talented, kind, and good-looking as ever. The crush has faded into a nice friendship, and I am really happy for him. He is a good person. Story 62. She's doing well. Divorced but happy, with 2 nice young men as sons. She's a lovely person, very enjoyable to keep up with, and we still have a spark. I chatted with her on a video call about a week ago. It was the first time in a couple of years, but we maintain contact. Our conversations are usually very flirty, fun, and heartwarming. We're both 55 this year. I am already, and she will be later in the year. Story 63. It's been 33 years since we last talked. I spoke with her husband last week, and he genuinely believes that if I knocked on the door, she would leave with me. I suppose she's as unpredictable as ever, and he's as unaware as I thought he was. She married him for financial gain. Story 64. He has several children from different women and has been married and divorced a few times. That was a narrow escape. Story 65. Probably not great, a lot of health problems later. She was difficult, but still didn't deserve what happened to her. Story 66. We got married, but she cheated on me multiple times, so now we're divorced. She used to call me while drunk a lot, but not anymore. Story 67. I just found out that he is married to his girlfriend, whom he had been dating since high school. The fact that I knew he used to like me before he started dating his current wife makes me feel foolish for not being honest about my feelings back then. I don't see him that way anymore, but knowing I had the chance to date him in high school still hurts. Story 68. He just had his first baby with his wife, who seems to be the only significant relationship he had after we shared our high school experience. I am very happy for them. Story 69. I still talk to mine. I called them a few weeks ago just to chat, and they are getting ready to graduate college this year and head into their master's program, which is part of a school initiative to become a teacher. I am so proud of them for where they are now. Story 70. She is now a mother after years of struggles. She has the job of her dreams and is financially stable. She isn't married and has a somewhat challenging relationship with her partner. On a scale from 1 to 10, she mentioned that she is 7 out of 10 happy. Story 71. I couldn't stop loving her after 7 years of friendship. She used me as a temporary solution when she broke up with her boyfriend, and I did everything I could. Yet I still wasn't reciprocated. Now we don't talk anymore, and even though I still see her on social media, I try to ignore everything related to her. I'm fine now. I just experience post-traumatic stress disorder occasionally. Story 72. After cheating on me, she keeps jumping from one relationship to the next, with the majority of them ending up being abusive. I have blocked her on every social media platform possible, but she creates new accounts to try and contact me, even enlisting her friends to do so. It has been 6 years since that awful moment, and I would really love to forget about it. But she won't leave me alone. She has threatened to harm herself multiple times if I do not forgive her for what she did to me, to which I respond by screenshotting the message and sending it to her friends and family so they can handle the situation. I do not care what is happening with her. I want nothing to do with her. It has been 7 years, and I want her to go away. Story 73. You mean the one I was with for years? Yeah, she is probably doing great. Nobody is asking how I am doing. Story 74. He appears to be fine. He is asleep right now since it is 2 a.m. and he has to get up for work at 5:30 a.m. He is from the class of 1993, and I am from the class of 1995. Story 75. She is doing great in real estate and has 2 children. She still looks good, and I wish her all the best. Story 76. Last I knew, She was a lesbian and had a job in California. She seems to be doing well, and I am happy for her. Story 77. Retired Army Major, divorced after her fourth marriage. Lives in a trailer and has a unique appearance. Story 78. Forgetting about each other is better than helping and being with each other all the time. Even though I had a crush on her and she had a crush on me. Story 79. He is in the school production of Alice in Wonderland, playing a griffin instead of studying for our final examinations. If we fail, we will have to redo them and pay even more money than we already have. I would say more, but it would take too long, and I really can't be bothered more than I already have. Story 80. My high school sweetheart, whom I dated for 5 years and who shaped my entire life, died from renal cancer in 2023. His widow is wonderful and a friend. I think about him every day and miss him all the time. Story 81. Sharing an apartment with the teacher who taught us science in 11th grade. He divorced his wife, who apparently lives with their 2 children. Story 82. Last I heard, she is a neurosurgeon now. Meanwhile, I still cannot figure out how to fold a fitted sheet properly. Story 83. I had 2 major crushes. The social butterfly got married a few years ago and now has children. She always wanted a family, so kudos to her. The goth girl had 3 children relatively early and seems to move from one relationship to another. She doesn't appear to be in a good place, but she always has a new guy in her life. She must have something going for her. Story 84. Dentist. Married. Mother of 1. Let her go now, it's been 15 years. I will wait some more. Story 85. Now I look like an old man and more mentally exhausted than the leader in charge. Lucky me that I wasn't cool enough to ask her out and later found the woman of my dreams in life. Funny how things work. Story 86. She became one of the first jet fighter pilots and is now a summit guide for some of the highest mountain peaks. As for me, I can open a jar of pickles quite quickly. Story 87. She is married with 2 children. I am married with 3 children. We still chat on social media. We have always been cool friends. Story 88. I can't think of a high school crush. I had a middle school crush. She struggled with substance abuse for a while and has a minor criminal record. She spent some time in jail and had a child at a young age. But we are friends on Facebook. Her mother always supported me. Story 89. She is happily married with children and has a good job. So am I. We are not together or anything. She barely knew I existed. Story 90. I haven't seen her since high school. I'm sure she is still just as unaware of my existence as she was back then. Story 91. I don't know, man. I have no social media presence. I last saw her 11 years ago during my junior year. It's disappointing. I would have loved to see her married or with kids for some closure. Took me a long time to realize that I had to find that closure for myself. And so I did. Story 92. She is still an attractive person. I'm not sure how I managed to be with her, but somehow she allowed me to have children with her. We have been together for 16 years. Story 93. He took his own life 3 years ago. I was in love with him throughout middle school and high school but was too scared to ever confess. When I received the news, I was in a state of shock and cried every day. I sent white flowers to his funeral because he was on the other side of the world. And now I can't keep white flowers in my home without feeling sad. Story 94. I lost contact with my friend for about 10 years. When we found each other on social media and made plans to meet up, I discovered that his place was a room he rented at a boarding house. He answered the door in worn boxers and nothing else, then went right back to gaming after letting me in, as if I were just a casual friend stopping by. The room was in a complete mess, and he was still working at the same fast food restaurant for the same wage he had during high school. Clearly, he was not doing well. I tried to help him for some time, but eventually we stopped talking. Story 95. I moved to another state and am working a decent job. We touched base a few weeks ago after not talking for a few years. I relocated across the country and have a wonderful partner, but it was nice to see what an old friend has been up to, even if that friend was someone I was somewhat obsessed with when I was 15. Story 96. Good, I suppose. He married his girlfriend and is working at a large firm. I met his father at my wedding. It seems like they are happy. Story 97. Not great. Apparently, when she was in school, the bus driver who drove her route home groomed and raped her, which greatly affected her. I only found out because I randomly received a phone call from the police asking if I could be a witness. Apparently, on one day back in school, someone picked her up. She didn't take the bus that day. I didn't recognize who it was, so I later texted her to ask who picked her up. She replied that it was her uncle, but it turns out it was the bus driver who raped her that afternoon and many times before. At the time, I thought it was insignificant, assuming it was her uncle who picked her up, so I forgot about the exchange. As a result, I couldn't assist the police in their investigation or be a witness. Lizzie, I hope you're doing okay and that this hasn't completely broken you. Story 98. Married and still just my neighbor. Her husband cheated on her and had a child with another woman, but she took him back because of family values. Story 99. I looked recently. At first, I thought she was pretty cool. Maybe I'll reach out and actually ask her out like I wanted. She enjoys cosplaying, listening to K-pop, and watching interesting anime. Voted for Trump? Nope. Story 100. She has been my ex for slightly over 3 years. Last I knew, she was regularly reposting motivational stories on social media, cycling through various crash diets, and telling her family members that I am unfaithful because it was easier than admitting she struggled with alcoholism. It wouldn't surprise me if she has had more relationships since we broke up. Story 101. She stated that her husband tried to kill her and mentioned she has been homeless for a year due to domestic violence. I feel like she is the one being unreasonable. I avoided a serious situation there. Story 102. She is excelling in her studies. She has a healthy relationship and a good life. However, she does not realize there is someone who loves her more than anyone else could. She is unaware that someone spends hours thinking about her beautiful smile. She does not know that someone listens to romantic music while thinking of her. She does not know that someone is always praying to be with her. Story 103. She cheated on her husband because of me. It was a good time, and then I blocked her and moved out of town. I talked to her again recently, and I plan to stay with her for a couple of days. She is struggling, and I don't know why, but I intend to put in some effort to help her and see what happens next. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.